Welcome to the creative brain of Dean Hawk. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and equipped to become a better ministry leader.
Hey, welcome to the Dean Hawk Leadership Podcast. Good to have you guys back this month. Hope you are having a great week. Before we dive into today's topic, it's called the Law of the Leak, and I'm excited to share this. I want to share with you some books each month that I've been reading that has really been changing me, changing us as a church. And I'm going to just tell you up front, this one will mess you up. It's called What the Heck is EOS? And its sister book, it's written by Gino Wickman. And its sister book is called Traction. And I started reading this at the first of the year, and we are implementing these into our staff culture. And it's basically an organizational structure, strategy, creating scorecards for your teams. How can we tell when we're ahead and when we're behind? And it's a corporate book that I'm working on adapting to a church culture. And so I've got several friends that are doing that as well. And so we're kind of navigating through it. I encourage you to dive into it. And I believe it'll challenge you, it'll stretch you, but I believe ultimately it will bless you. Hey, let's dive into today's topic, the Law of the Leak. Yes, you see over my shoulder a picture of Hoover Dam. And what you're seeing there is what I would call the perfect church. You see all the various departments there, the worship team, the guest information, nursery, greeters, rock kids, that's our children's check-in, the preaching, our youth ministry, the coffee bar. You see all of those elements that represent all of our departments at the church. Well, one of the things that we wrestle with as pastors and leaders is, why isn't our church growing? Why do we see people come and then they leave? And so it's a little bit of a dive into what is the back door to our church, and reducing the back door to our church, and raising the bar in all of our elements. So if we take Hoover Dam, the picture you see behind me is what I would call the perfect church. Every team, every volunteer is functioning in the love of God. They're genuine, they're sincere, they're caring, they're loving, and the preaching is amazing. The worship is through the roof. They're all operating at a level 10. But that's not realistic. We're going to have areas where we're stronger and weaker. Now on the next slide is going to give you a little picture of maybe it's a little more realistic. And here's the principle. Whatever the lowest element, the weakest element within your organization, that is going to become the leak. It's the law of the leak. Now, I'm picking on us as senior leaders here. If you'll notice, the lowest leak in this picture behind me is the preaching. The worship is good. The check-in is flowing well. Kids are good. The guest info is great. The coffee bar is good. But the preaching's lacking. And so in this church scenario, the pastor would be the point. The people come to the church because they love the worship. But then they're challenged because they really don't enjoy the teaching. So then we as leaders, we as pastors, that would be an area that we can fix, that we can work on, that we can improve. Well, as we work through this process, what we want to do is begin to look and examine each of our departments, each of our serving teams and our volunteer teams, and begin to identify where is the leak. Let me give you an example. If we have the kids check in our lobby, and let's say we didn't effectively teach and train those volunteers who are going to assist members and newcomers to assist them with kids check-in. And so they're trying to coach someone through and a glitch comes up. Well, if we've not trained them, all of a sudden the person's frustrated that's trying to help them. The new person feels awkward. The line starts to back up because we can't figure out the system. Now we have a leak. People are frustrated. People are antsy. People don't like lines. And now your volunteer is frustrated because he doesn't feel or she doesn't feel like they were well trained. So the better we prepare, the better we train, the better we organize each of our departments, we raise the bar. I put it this way to my staff: if Jesus has called us to be fishers of men, then we should be the best dam builders, not cussing, but dam builders to retain and to capture the fish that he is sending to us. And so if my worship is good and everything is going good in the adult services, you're going to capture people for a season. And their kids will endure, and they'll if children's ministry was the weak spot, it's the weak area, they'll push through. But finally, it could take weeks, it could take months, it might even take a year. But if that kid is whining, crying, I don't want to go to church today, finally the parents will make a move, and they're going to find a church that has a higher level of children's ministry. If you could have various areas, you could have great preaching, great worship, great children's, great youth. But if your maintenance person doesn't do a good job, there are restaurants that I will not eat at because when I went to their restroom, they were disgusting. And I know if that's the way they take care of their restroom, then I know the kitchen is filthy. And so it tells me what is the mindset of the owner, of the leadership of that restaurant in this case. Well, in the same instance, if somebody walks into your restroom and the toilets are dirty, they might enjoy the service, but they're like, oh, man, this place is gross. This place is disgusting. So we need to make the best with what we have and make sure that all of our teams are running at the highest level. We have a motto here among our staff that it is simply this. It's make it better. How can we make it better? How can we improve what we're doing? Because we believe that every time we make it better, we raise the bar. But we need to carry these principles to our entire team, and each team then has to do an assessment of their children's team, the youth team, the worship team, the usher team. Example, let's say our ushers, we generally would say they're doing good, but there's one usher that is ornery, won't smile, is negative, kind of grunts at the people. Well, that's going to be on that usher team, that's going to be a leak within that team. They're either going to have to bring that person, raise the bar and bring that person up, or they're going to potentially have to remove that person and maybe get them involved on the parking team where they don't have interaction with people, just vehicles. Whatever that might be. But you're going to have to make the adjustments. If I have Nellie Negative on the worship team, and every time we gather for a practice, she's like, well, when are we going to be done? Well, I don't know why we need to go through it again. She's going to leak. She's going to be the leak for the whole team, and she's going to cause the water level of the worship team to go down because of her negative attitude. So we're going to have to raise her attitude, or we're going to have to remove her from the team, or it's going to continue to sink us, and the water's going to come in over the edge of the boat, so to speak, and lower the whole boat and make us run at a lower level. So our goal is to, how can we improve? How can we do better? Now here's some statements that will hurt you, that hurt us as a team. It's good enough. Has anyone on your team ever said that? Well, it's good enough. We don't allow that. We don't accept that. We want to make it better. Because here's the fact. Today is going to be the first day that somebody walks into your church service. And it's going to be their first impressions. And sometimes we get comfortable with the things that we see or that are around us. Other statements that hurt us are statements like, it won't make a difference, or we'll do it better next time. No, let's do it better this time. And so what happens is you'll find that you'll have team members, team players, or individuals, or teams in whole that compromise. And one of the definitions of compromise means to expose or make vulnerable to danger, suspicion, or scandal. That when we compromise our standard, when we compromise our level of excellence, and excellence is not that we have to buy the best model. Excellence is doing the best with what we have. We might not be able to afford new tile in the restroom, but we can make sure that that tile is exceptionally clean. I love one lease facility that we were in, that we hosted our weekend services at this event center. And I think, and how can we make it better? And I was frustrated with the way that the organization that we're leasing from was keeping the restrooms clean. So I found some cleaner, I found a brush, I go into the restroom, and I sprayed the Clorox on the little tile square floor, and I sprayed the Clorox on there, took a brush, took a rag, and wiped it out. And it was probably about as black as my table here. It wasn't quite that black. It was a dark gray. And when I cleaned it, it was a light gray tile underneath. I go and got the manager of the facility. I said, I'd like to show you something. Would you come in here to the men's restroom? And I said, remember me talking to you about cleanliness and how important it is? Yep. I said, here's what I'm talking about. And he looks at the floor and he goes, oh, we had that tile replaced. We're sorry about that. We had that tile replaced. I said, no, sir. I just cleaned that tile and showed him what I had cleaned. Then he got mad because I'd cleaned his floor, and so we parted ways. But what I'm saying is, do the best with what you have. So as we wrap this up today, here's what I want us to remember, is it's not about perfection. And before you get a hammer and say, man, we're gonna build our dam and we're gonna make things stronger and better, before you get the hammer and start knocking things out and fixing things, here's the deal. Neither your church nor my church is ever going to be perfect. We're not striving for perfection. We're striving to improve. How can we make things better? And it might take several steps. Don't go out and fire. You say, well, we're leaking in the children's ministry. Don't go out and fire that person or tell that lead volunteer they're no longer needed. Have you coached them? Have you met with them? Have you helped them identify what the leaks are? Maybe it's they don't have enough volunteers. Maybe the kids don't like it because somebody's getting punched or teased because there's not enough crowd control and you've got one or two leaders handling 30 or 40 kids, elementary age students. So maybe the problem comes back to us as a leader that we need to get more people involved in the children's church ministry and vision to help them understand and help do their jobs better. Lastly is we need to examine ourselves first. Before you share this with your staff, I encourage you to examine yourself and challenge yourself. Am I giving the best in my weekly preaching? Am I giving the best in my leadership? Am I preparing for the meetings that I have coming up? Am I coming in and am I winging it? Or am I coming in with a structure and a plan and a strategy? And so I encourage you to raise the bar first in your area, in your leadership, in your speaking, and your communication. One of the things our team was at the Catalyst Conference last week in Denver, and Craig Rochelle was there, and in one of the side meetings, they were talking about how that in 180 seconds, the person who's going to be the host for their service, how they practice and how they work on that 180 seconds. How they'll actually practice in the office of people saying, "We're so glad you're here. Welcome everybody this morning." And that 180 seconds, they are even rehearsing and practicing and coaching to make that small element of their service even a little bit better and a little bit sharper. I think all of us can raise the bar. Let's make sure that we are raising the bar so we're not leaking the valuable people that God has sent to our church. And here's the last aspect is teamwork makes the dream work. And if your whole team understands this concept, if your whole team sees and values this concept, that they'll begin to recognize, I see a leak, I'm going to fix it and make sure it's taken care of before service starts. I'm going to, because they see that the lowest level is going to cause people to maybe not come back. Maybe say, no, this isn't the church for us. And so they begin to watch and to help and to aid and to assist one another to help raise the bar across the organization. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. For those of you that were listening, check out, we also have it on the video, iTunes as well. We're also on YouTube that you can catch the videos and you can see the Hoover Dam image that I was sharing and the ministry departments that we were talking about. I want to encourage you to check us out each month, the Dean Hawk Leadership Podcast. If you enjoy this, share it with your staff, share it with your team, share it with your pastor friends. God bless you guys. Have a great month.
Thank you for joining us today. For a free sermon series and teaching outlines by Pastor Dean, visit us at deanhawk.com. Be sure and join us next month as we continue our growth on leadership.